Hi, everyone. Thank you for jumping on today's webinar. We will get started in just a few minutes. Wanted to get it going so we can get some people on. So give us a few minutes and we'll be back in just a second. Okay, we're at the top of the hour, so we are going to get started. There's a lot to cover today. We want to make sure we're cognizant of the time we take. So once again, thank you for being on today's call. My name is Lauren Conaway. I'm the Director of Marketing for Principal Industries, and we're excited to have you guys on the line today to talk about a lot of things. Our Prism Synergy series we're launching, our Energizer series of power supplies we're launching, and a little bit about becoming Principal Sloan and the new brand that you're starting to see float around. I'm joined today by Derek Hopper, our VP of Engineering, who will be talking all things product with you guys today. But before we get started, just a few housekeeping things. As always, please feel free to send in those questions through our questions tab, and we'll answer them throughout the time that we are going through the webinar. There's also a chat tab that you should be able to locate, and there's a link in there that allows you to access all the data sheets for each product that we're discussing today. There's a lot of products. We couldn't get those all into the handout section of the webinar, so you can get them through the link in the chat section. You will also receive that link and the follow-up email after today's webinar. So trying to cover our basis and make sure you guys have that information in several different places. Okay, so before we get started into product, I do want to take just a second to talk to y'all about the new logo that you're starting to see float around. So this is our Principal Sloan logo. As you know, we've been rolling things out about becoming Principal Sloan and combining our North American sign products from Sloan LED and Principal LED into one product line. And today's launch is the first of what we expect to be many in the upcoming months and years that we're launching under the Principal Sloan name. This summer, you'll start to see a new website appear for Principal Sloan with those combined product lines, so stay tuned. We will be communicating more information out about that soon, and we're excited to get that to you guys and be able to support you in a lot more ways than we have in the past. If you're following us on social media, you've noticed that we've started transitioning things to the Principal Sloan brand, and that will continue. So please keep up there, and we'll keep you updated as things progress. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Derek Hopper and let him talk product.
Good afternoon, everyone. As Lauren said, my name is Derek Hopper, and I'm the VP of Engineering here at Principal Sloan. Very excited to go over these products with you today. A lot of them have been in the pipeline for a while, and we are excited to finally get them into your hands. First one we're going to go over today is our new Prism Synergy line. This is a very customer-driven product. We took a lot of time getting a lot of feedback from both customers and our sales team on what are the things and features that we don't have in other lines, or maybe we have a bit of it in one product line and not all of them, that we could put into one-stop shop, so to speak, solid quality product. And this is what we've come up with. It comes in all the standard sizes, 3000, 41, 5000, 65, and 7000. It will have a average around just under 157 lumens per watt. And we'll go over this more in a second, but we are excited to announce a brand new life of the sign warranty for the product and 10-year labor warranty that is going to be exclusive to these modules in our lineup. As I mentioned a second ago, a lot of things kind of went into this, including some of the common sense ones that are, you see a lot of, and we wanted to make sure that we had all of it in one package. So these are a new body type that are sonic welded compared to the completely overmolded ones that you're used to from us, like the QWIK mod line, Patriot, things of that nature. Every single one of these are 24 volt and constant current, and they are fully labeled, as you can see in this picture. So a couple small things are, when you look at any Principal or Principal Sloan product, you are going to notice that when it comes to the 12 volts, you will have a solid white wire for your positive, and then typically you're going to have a white with a black stripe on your negative. That's 12. We wanted to make it easier to distinguish if you're holding two products in your hands, figuring out real quick what you have, a 12 or 24 volt. So what we did, again, just a small thing, is a solid gray wire for the negative on all 24 volt products, and you can see that in this picture. Additionally, new things you can see on the side, you have your entire SKU, including the -7 at the end that's going to indicate the CCT. So if that was a 65, it would be a or a 6500K, it would be -65, 5000, -50, you get the idea. The 4-digit code next to that is for traceability on quality control, and that is your date code. So in this instance, it's going to be the year followed by a 2-digit week within that year. So this means that in 2022, this was produced on the 41st week. And again, overall, not likely to mean much because it's only going to come into play if there's any warranty claims, and we don't expect there to be any. You can also see on top all of your UL information, including the UL number and the voltage as well. All right, let's dive into it. The big one is going to be life of the sign warranty. This is a new product warranty that we're offering. And when it comes to the actual coverage itself, it's going to be the exact same one that you guys are used to from us. Our warranty statement itself has not changed. This is just taking it a step further. It went from 5 and 5 to 5 and 7, 7 and 7, 10, 5, 10, 10. All of us in the industry have really been pushing ourselves to make higher and higher quality products that we can, do something to really show how confident we are in our product, and that when you buy from us, you're buying something that is going to work and that we're going to stand behind. And this is just the next evolution in that. What this means is that if you buy any of our drivers and use them with our new Synergy line of products, any 5 of them that we're going to go over today, you will have a product warranty that will cover the entirety of the sign. And what do we mean by sign as opposed to the product itself? We want to make sure that this is limited to the original unaltered sign. So if you are the installer and you're going out, that it helps you maintain the maintenance business that might come with it. So if anything does happen, you can let your customers know, hey, this is covered. This has a lifetime product warranty, but you need to make sure that in order to get that and take advantage of it, that if something does go wrong, you need to be sure to contact me. Because if they go to one of your competitors, they're not going to have the paper trail that you do to show that they signed for it and will not get to take advantage of this. Beyond that, one thing that we do ask across the board on all of our product warranties, regardless of the duration, is it's important that the paper trail is made. So there is a warranty registration form that we have available with any job you use with our products, and it needs to be filled out and submitted to us, just either faxed in or scanned in via email within the first 30 days of the installation date. So from the time your sign goes up, you got 30 days to send it to us. And what that does is, if you meet that 30-day window, your warranty begins from the date of your installation. If you miss that 30-day window mark, you're not out of luck though. You will still be able to take advantage of this. However, we are going to date that warranty back to the manufacturer date code located on the modules as opposed to the installation of the sign, which honestly, when you're talking about the life of the sign warranty, isn't that big of a deal.
Yeah, and if you have any questions, again, please feel free to send those over in the questions tab, because this is just the start of a lot of information we'll throw at you today.
Specification. So all of this information is going to be available on the full data sheet that'll go out with this package after the webinar. So I'm not going to spend everyone's time today going over every single specification on every single product. We just want to touch briefly on all of them as we go through. So starting with our smallest module in the lineup, we are looking at the micro. This is a 2-diode. If any of you are familiar with our QWIK Mini 2, this is going to be a very similar platform, just in a 24-volt application. One thing to note on the series as a whole, since we're starting off here when we're looking at these different CCTs, you're going to notice that, as I already mentioned, you do have all these CCTs available. And one of the big wish list items, and I'd say wish list is more of a requirement that our sales team put on this, was that they needed a cohesive product line for you that used the same chip across the board, so that no matter what kind of application you were using, if you had a job site that needed big and small letters, that they could mix and match these at will and they would always match. And that's exactly what we've done here. You can use this as the smallest module and the smallest letters, and then have a big cabinet sign right on top of it, or a cloud sign that you need to use some of the HO products for, and they will match. So on top of that, you've got your packaging information there at the bottom. These will come in bags of 300, 60 strands, so 5 strands of 60 per case. Again, white positive and gray negative, life sign warranty plus a 10-year labor. All of these are IP67. Due to the size on this is the only one that does not have mechanical fastening, so it is important to note that for this product in particular, on the micro, you will need to use some kind of additional adhesive as well, like a silicone, when you're doing the installation.
Derek, since these are constant current LEDs, are they dimmable?
Yes, all of the, yes. If using a PWM in particular, you can dim every single one of these.
Awesome, thanks. So we'll move on to the Mini.
Yep. Moving on, as Lauren said, we have the Mini, which is going to be very similar in profile to the QWIK 2. It's just a 2-diode platform that if you do have any kind of standard level channel letters that are maybe a little bit smaller, maybe too much for a 4-diode version that we're going to see here in a second, where space may be a bit of a factor, but you don't need something quite as small as the micro. You can use these, and they're going to give you a good output. They're almost 2 mods per foot, so 1.8. Those of you, again, familiar with the QWIK 2, those are at 1.7. So if you like the performance and spacing and everything like that on the QWIK, this will be a good option for you in a 24-volt platform, constant current with all the bells and whistles. Again, all the same CCTs, but this one does come available as well in red, blue, and green. Packaging information there at the top right again. So these are going to come in bags of 200 with 4 strands of 50. Moving on, this is the Prism Synergy spec. This is kind of the go-to. This is going to be the workhorse that is going to be great for day in, day out applications. A good brightness with a good efficacy and solid run footage without having the massive output and power draw that comes with a even larger module that we're going to see here in a little bit. You will see that on this product in particular, the next 3 are all going to be 4-diode, but the 2 after this, the HO and the deep, do have a slightly longer spacing since we are driving them at a higher, all of these are using the same chip, but because we are going to drive the HO and the deep at higher currents in order to get that higher output, we wanted to make sure that they had a little bit more spacing between the diodes to allow for the heat dissipation, so that we can make sure that you don't need that lack of sign warranty or anything like that. Again, all the same CCTs plus red, blue, and green, and it's going to be 108 modules per driver and 100 per bag.
Derek, on these products, do you have to mid-load, or can you run a whole bag, or is there a loading chart?
These are not going to, so our recommendation across the board, and I know that you will have people out there that say otherwise, our recommendation is always going to be to mid-load for best performance. That just ensures that you have as much of a chance of not experiencing voltage drop. However, unlike our other products, because these are constant current, you do not have to mid-load. You will need to, we will be providing you with information on the best performance or best practices, because while you don't need to mid-load, there is a threshold that me, as one of the people that had a hand in creating it, wouldn't necessarily recommend going over, but that's about the 75% mark. Other than that, you can definitely load these from one end to the end, or without having to mid-load or home run, anything of that nature.
Awesome. Okay, so we'll move to the HO then.
So HO, as I said, this goes a little bit longer size-wise, from 3.78 to 4.25. Not a big deal, other than just wanted to point it out so that if you have them side by side and you're trying to figure out why the spec is a little bit shorter, as I mentioned, this just has to do with quality and heat dissipation for the output that we're driving these at. They are over 200 lumens per module and 1.2 mods per foot. And these are going to be the options that you use when you have deeper channel letters or cabinet applications. And they have a 170 optic, as do the rest of these. The only outlier on that is going to be the next one we look over here in a minute, which will be the Synergy Deep. It is going to be the exact same performance and output as the per module as the HO is, so still 208.5 lumens per module. However, this does not have the same optic. You'll notice that it doesn't look like it has the diamond weave pattern on there, and that's because these are more of a plastic cover, so you get more directional light for very deep applications. You can go up to 36 inches face to face with a double face, so that'd be 18 inches from the backer to the face, and these will evenly light. I would recommend, consulting, either doing some testing on certain applications to see what kind of spacing you want. At very deep applications with this, I would definitely recommend doing 12 inches on center, just because even with the directional, the further away from that face you get, you're going to be losing some output. So that 12-inch spacing is less about even lighting and avoiding striping, and more about making sure you get a bright product across the board. But we're excited about this one. This one was born out of some of the competitors we have in the market use a, they use much larger modules that maybe have 8 to 9 on them, and the module itself is quite large, 9 inches long. We opted to try to make something that was going to be a little bit more versatile, so that you weren't confined to having a massive module that was going to be a one-trick pony. Again, you'll get this with the information that will be sent out. This is just going back to the depth chart and different options you have.
Perfect. And before we move on to the sticks in this product family, we do have a question. Will there still be a life of assigned warranty if the Energizer power supplies are not used with this product? Or can you touch on just the power supplies that need to be utilized with these modules to achieve life of assigned warranty?
Any principal Sloan driver. So any the new Energizer that we're going to introduce here in a minute, and then our existing HE drivers, in the 24-volt HE drivers. Either one of them, you can take your pick and use whichever one you need to.
Okay, let's jump into sticks.
Yep. So as with everything, for those of you that know Blake, we're the state fair and we'll put anything on a stick. And we've done it again here. We are going to have 2 sticks in this series. There's going to be the HO and the Deep. And the HO is exactly what it sounds like. We use the HO module on the stick. If any of you out there are Sloan users that have been using the Prism beam, this has a 1-for-1 replacement, so to speak. If you like the specs that those have, you'll find that these are identical in loading and brightness. So we're very excited to bring that to the market. We're also going to be offering it in the Deep, which again, using the same module, whether the Deep module, except that if you do have those unique scenarios that have a very deep application, 24, 36 inches deep, face to face on a double-sided, anything like that, the Deep stick will be the perfect application.
Okay, any questions on Prism Synergy before we transition over to power supply talk? Okay, Don't forget, you can still send those in if you think of things. Let's see, actually one did come through. Is there a standard warranty for these LEDs if the life of sign warranty paperwork doesn't get filed within 30 days?
So the life of that 30-day is actually across the board. That's not unique to the life of the sign. So whether you're using QWIK mod and it's a 10 and 10, or any of our drivers, anything like that, all of those, I'm sorry, 10 and 5 on the QWIK mod, all of those carry the same requirement of 30 days. You don't miss out on the warranty if you miss that mark. All it means is that we date it back, instead of date of installation, we date it back to date of manufacturing on the product itself.
And since this is life of the sign, it's sort of irrelevant on that one. My apologies, can you clarify again, Prism Beam is a direct equivalent for the HO stick or the deep stick?
The HO. So yeah, the Prism Beam and the Synergy HO stick are identical.
Perfect. Thanks for y'all's questions. Okay, so we'll move on to the Energizer power supply family because there's a lot to cover here as well.
Mm-hmm. So one thing that happened, obviously, with the creation of Principal Sloan means that, something had to have happened back in October, like, Principal and Sloan joining forces. So with that came a lot of overlap. We've both been in the industry for a long time. We have a lot of products that do this identical things. So, on the Principal side of things, we were already kind of down the road of looking for a new driver that, kind of same mindset with the Synergy of having something that we could have one look that we could rebrand and launch something new, and it just worked out timing wise where we could consolidate. You can see from these two charts that we have up on the screen, we had a lot. So, there were a lot of 20 watts between both companies. There were many different 60 watts and options, and we didn't want to continue down that path of having, too many things that maybe there wasn't a clear deviation on exactly what the difference between one or the other was. So we have, as you can see here, it consolidated quite heavily. A lot of these that you see on the discontinued list have a lot of the same replacement, suggested replacement ones. And with the new Energizer series, we are excited to share those with you. So first up, we're going to look at 20-watt drivers. These are one thing to note on the Energizers in general, no matter what model we're talking about, all of these are IP67, but more importantly, for those of you that are UL shops out there, these are all wet location rated with UL as well. And, that's definitely the highlight. I know that there's a lot of stuff out there that gets confusing around the IP rating and the environmental location rating with UL. And they would, it would seem that they should go hand in hand, but unfortunately they don't always. We wanted to take the guesswork out of that and just make sure that all of these are wet location rated. They all have cable jacketing coming out with, I believe, 8 to 12 inch leads on both sides to make it, nice and convenient. It's on par with what we've had in the past. They are all universal input, and we are going to have these 20 watts in both a 12 and 24 volt option.
Derek, we do have a question, just switching back to modules and sticks really quick. For programs that are currently using the Sloan Prism Beam, should we be switching over to the Synergy product line?
So I don't want to, on the engineering side of things, I don't want to speak to that necessarily.
I'll handle that. So if you're currently using the 12 or 24 Prism, the current Prism that's been out for a long time, I would stick with that. And the reason being is, it's in the system. The end user or customer that you're building the sign for has spec'd it, and you don't have to go back and redo drawings. We're going to continue to make all three of these families, the 12, the 24 current Prism, in the new Prism Synergy 24 volt. So we would recommend sticking with what you have in the program, and then on new programs using this product.
Awesome, thanks, Sam.
Yep.
And there is a question about price point on power supplies and how that compares to discontinued products. We would just encourage you guys to get with your sign supply distributor. The pricing varies across the board on these things, so can't necessarily answer that specifically for you, but get with your preferred distributor and they can get you answers on that. Okay, we'll move on to the 24 volt 20 watt.
Yep, as I said before, so a lot of these that you're going to see are going to be duplicates. They're going to be identical in footprint and performance. The only difference is going to be that you're going to have some that are 12 and some that are 24, and that's exactly what it is here. So this will be the Energizer 20 watt, but in the 24 volt output. Moving on, we have our universal 60 watt 12 volt power supply. Again, universal inputs. You've got 0 to 5 amp outputs. You can fully load them, wet location rated IP67, all the normal and all the normal safety. You can. It's got the overload protection. You know, universal inputs. As you can see here, it's not just 120 to 277. There is a buffer there of plus or minus 10% both ways. So 90 to 305 is nice because it'll account for any kind of spikes that you could have on your primary side.
Derek, how many mods can you push with one power supply?
That would depend on which driver you're using and which product we're talking about in particular. If we're talking, you know, going back to the Synergy, the Prism Synergy real quick, on the Micro, I believe it's 335 modules on a 100 watt driver. It's 208 for the Mini, 108 on the Spec, and then both the Deep and the HO are 72 modules, which obviously the HO and the Deep, the footage will change because the mods per foot is different, but I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, and you should be able to find all those numbers on the data sheets as well in the link in the chat section.
Okay. So one thing that you see a lot, you know, what feedback we've gotten a lot in the past is we've been able, you know, to push that if you have an application where you have a sign that maybe doesn't even have 60 watts of power or a thread at 60 watts, then you've been better served using a 12 volt product. You know, the 12 volts are typically not as expensive, either the driver or the module. But you do run into those situations where some people just want what they want, and a lot of people have made the conversion fully to 24 volt output, and there's nothing wrong with that. The one downside we've run into in the past is obviously, you know, for class 2 requirements with UL, people typically like to get the most bang for their buck, and the max output on a 24 volt driver is going to be 100 watts. Sometimes though, as the industry has gone more 24 volt, you don't always need that full 100 watts of power depending on what size your sign is. And that's where this came from. Same output of 24 volts that you're used to, but without the 40 extra watts of power on there. So I would recommend using this similarly to the 20 watt. If you have those applications where maybe you don't need the full run footage of 100 watt or even the 60 watt, you can use the 60 or the 20.
Awesome, and we have a whole group of questions coming in, so let's go to those before we move on. The first one is about the actual size of these power supplies and how that compares to what we've had in the past.
So I know that on these 60 watts in particular, these 60 watts are quite small. So both, I believe, on the Sloan side and the PLED side, they are smaller, and then they are quite a bit smaller than the HE drivers that we have out there right now as well.
Awesome, and there is a question about enclosures, and we will get to the QWIK boxes here in a little bit and the combinations of these power supplies in those QWIK boxes. Go down the line here. Is there still a dimmable driver available for the primary side of the power supply, 12 or 24?
Not right now. We plan on moving away from that one at this time.
And finally, will there be a 208 volt wiring diagram as part of the standard driver data sheet?
We can make one. That's not a problem at all.
We will make note of that.
Yes.
Is the LED packaging still following the rule of one bag per power supply? So the smart packaging that Principal has historically done.
It's slightly modified on the Synergy, and that was mainly because of manufacturing choices. Like I said, I believe the micro you can do a maximum of 335, but we package them in the bags of 300, and the reason being just because of the trying to find an even split to figure out, the right number of mods per strands and everything like that was, it made more manufacturing sense to just stick with round numbers. Same thing with the mini and the standard spec. Instead of doing the full 208 and the 108, we did 200 and 100 to keep it a little easier. But if you happen to run into a situation where you need to go above those full bag quantities, you're perfectly able to, and we have indicated that on the spec sheet. So, yeah, there's a slight deviation there, but it's pretty small, and especially with the micro, 35 mods sounds like a lot, but when you're talking about something that's 6 mods per foot, your footage is pretty low overall. And then on the HO and the deep, those are fully smart packaged at 72 mods.
Great. Derek, will the current Sloan dimmer work with this new line of power supplies?
If you're talking about the rheostat dimmer, no, those would require a dimmable driver that have the extra outputs for that dimmer. So if that's the one you're inquiring about, then no, those will not be compatible. If you're talking about just a standard inline PWM on the secondary side, then yes, those would still work.
All right, keep the questions coming. We're going to move to the next power supply, and then we'll go through some more questions.
So this is going to the 60W3, W4, and the C1 and on the Sloan side, and then the 6012AU on the Principal side are being replaced by this model. This is the same model as the standard 60 watt 12 volt. It just has the threads on there if you need it for any kind of J-box or connections of that nature. Same thing here. We did not opt for because we have the 100 watt HE, and those are relatively new and they're doing, they perform quite well. We opted to, there is no standard Energizer 100 watt. We only have the 100 watt threaded. So if you need a 100 watt, just 24 volt 100 watt non-threaded, anything like that, you'll need to stick with the HE, and if you do need a 100 watt threaded application, you would use this Energizer model.
All right. If y'all have any more power supply questions, send those in, and then we'll jump into quick boxes right after this. Let's see, what is the amp draw on the 60 watt 12 volt power supplies?
It'll be on the data sheet.
Yeah.
Off the top of my head, I can't remember.
Again, you can access those data sheets through the link in the chat section, and then you'll also be getting that link via email after this as well. Okay, then we'll jump right into quick boxes and the combinations of these power supplies in quick boxes.
Yep, so as it was hinted at before, you were asking about slim boxes, and this is exactly that. So again, we'll have a sheet that goes out that has all the new SKUs with these different combinations, but you're going to have it available in what we've already had, which is the HE 60 watt and 96 watt. We also have the HE 120 available right now that you can do single or double. We have the 3 output class 2 12 volt 180, and then a similar 3 output 24 volt 300. Those will not fit in a single box, but they will fit in the double, and you can, in fact, put 2 of those into a double box. So if you had a very large application, you could potentially have it where you've got one box that gives you 1 primary hookup and 6 secondary outputs. And then the only new ones that we're really looking at here from the Energizer side are going to be the 60 watt, 12 and 24 volt.
Are there any 347 volt driver options in 12 or 24?
There are not.
Okay, keep sending those questions through. A lot of good questions today. I just wanted to remind you guys that These products are available in our Easy Layout Builder and LED Wizard 8 software. So you can utilize those in however you interact with the different software. They'll be available both on the Sloan site and the Principal site in those Easy Layout Builders. And then as we roll out the new Principal Sloan site that we discussed at the beginning of the webinar, we will be rolling out a Easy Layout Builder that has all of this in one place. So just bear with us as we get that created for you guys and get that pushed out, but it is in the works. And for now, you can access these products in Easy Layout Builder on either site. Okay, if there are no other questions, then we will wrap things up for today, and you'll be receiving a follow-up email from us with a recording of today's webinar with the link to all of the data sheets and everything else that you might need in there. And just a reminder, keep following us on social media. You'll see the new website come out soon, and we look forward to being in touch with you guys as more products roll out. Thanks so much, and have a good day.